Hello and welcome to PalaceFanTV for a transfer special video. It is January, the transfer window is open and Palace have been linked with just about every player you can think of. But to go through some of those names with me, I've got transfer expert Krisitian Stuart, a.k.a. Footie Writer. Krisitian, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on, because Palace have been linked with, so many players already in the first few days of January. I'm going to throw some names at you and see if you can give us a bit of an insight into what's going on. Of course, Pardew did say this week that all the names linked with Palace are false, but I'd imagine that might be him throwing the scent off people a little bit. But let's start with a big one. He's been linked with Palace for a long time, and that is QPR striker Charlie Austin, who of course is could be going on a free in the summer. Palace need a striker. What are the odds of him coming to Selhurst?
Well, I think if you're not looking at him, then why aren't you looking at him? Because you're clearly looking for a young English striker. Now, 26 may or may not be young, but you've gone for Connor Wickham, Patrick Bamford on loan, who obviously hasn't worked out, and you've now got Charlie Austin there, who's a proven Premier League goal scorer. He's, as I say, he's 26. He's not going to be overpriced because he's going out of contract, and obviously, as Pardew has said, nobody that you're interested, or nobody that's being thrown at him, the players that you're interested in. But why not? Because Charlie Austin has been one that's been bandied about. He's been linked with Newcastle and a plethora of other Premier League clubs. But why not? Why not Palace?
Is it? I feel sometimes with him, because obviously he played in the Premier League last season. QPR went down, stayed at QPR. Why hasn't he gone back to the Premier League? Is he sort of in that Jordan Rhodes bracket of, is there a reason why he's not back in the Premier League yet?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe he's being clever. I think maybe he's had some advice and said that maybe because Villa are one of the teams that were linked for him at the start of the season, maybe he's biding his time a little bit, see which team can establish themselves in the Premier League. And obviously Palace, high up the table. So why not Palace? Obviously, you're not getting relegated this season.
Famous last words.
Yeah, but that would require some sort of epic downfall of all proportions, and I can't see it happening. So I think I would be surprised if you weren't interested.
There is the price tag is something like £15 million though, isn't it? So which I mean, is that too much for someone that's playing in the Championship?
I'm not a fan of Connor Wickham. If he's worth the money that he's worth, Charlie Austin's worth that money. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Let's move on to another one that's really dividing Palace fans at the moment, and that is Emanuel Adebayor. Played for quite a few clubs already. Reported to have attitude problems, but could he be the man to play up front for Palace, and could it be a chance for him to revive his career?
Well, he's a journeyman, and it depends where you look at him at. He is a proven goal scorer. He does have an attitude problem. I think personally he'd be a really good shout for either Palace, or he's been linked to Watford as well. And Quique Sanchez-Flores has come out and said that he doesn't know whether he has the attributes, but I think he does. I think he's a good Premier League goal scorer. And the problem here is, of course, that he wants £100,000 a week, which is something that neither Palace nor Watford would offer. And he wants to stay in England. So I think personally, London clubs are being linked with him, obviously, because he's got a base in London with Arsenal and Spurs, and he's doing the rounds. He'll probably end up at QPR one day. But I think Palace are interested, but only if other targets don't come forward.
Would he be the sort of one that maybe be good on a short-term deal to start with? Because he seems to do well in those kind of short-term periods where he's playing for a contract, then he gets a contract and he's like, well, I'm sorted now.
Yeah, probably give him a 6-month deal and see how it goes. Maybe even a pay-as-you-play. I know they're kind of dying out a little bit, but he's obviously going to take some time to get back to form and to match fitness. So I think maybe a 6-month deal could be ideal for him.
Okay, moving into midfield, another player that Palace has been linked with for some time. And I know they went after him when they got promoted. Is John Joe Shelvey. Figures of 10 million banded around. Do you think there's much chance of him coming to Palace?
I think he's been left out the squad, and I think clearly new management, who not a big fan of Shelvey, he needs to play because he's got aspirations of playing in Euro 2016, and I think anyone that can give him game time he'll be interested in. And Swansea need money as well. If you're putting figures of 10 to 12 million pounds for a player that's not even making their squad, then yeah, I think they're going to be interested. And I think personally he's a very good player to get the midfield moving. Of course, Palace midfield, is that really one of the positions that you need? I'd say probably not. So I'd be focusing personally on a striker, but that's me. And hopefully, I think Shelby would be a really good player for the majority of teams in the Premier League, and I think possibly there is interest, definitely from Newcastle, and probably lesser so from Palace.
Yeah, and he did. He played with Pardew at Charlton, I believe, when he was a youngster. So obviously there's a relationship there. And we did. The problem with Palace at the moment in midfield is that it's all fine when everyone's fit, but we had Cabaye suspended last week, and the midfield suddenly just looks not as coherent. And I think Shelby is one of those players that maybe could just, I don't know, you feel like he's the sort of player that just galvanises the midfield sometimes. He drives forward, he's got a good long shot. We don't really score any long shots from midfield. So for me, the Warriors are priced. Do you think Palace could get it down below 10 million?
I think there's always room for negotiation, especially when a player doesn't make the squad. I mean, people can always say, oh, well, he's happy here. But, if you're not making the squad, not even the team, I think there's always room for negotiation. I think probably sort of look towards 8 to 10 million rather than 10 to 12 million. I think that's more realistic.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, Palace, we're not used to paying these sums of monies, but, with the TV money these days, and this is when you're 7th in the Premier League, that's the sort of money you got to spend, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah.
Right, moving back up front, Loic Remy has been linked with Palace and with Villa, a player that I think Palace were after last season as well. Yeah. Is there any chance of him really? I mean, Palace fans would love him at Palace, I think, but it feels to me like it might be a bit too fanciful. What do you think?
Yeah, I think with Radamel Falcao potentially going back to Monaco now, I don't think Chelsea have got any. I don't think they can. Obviously, we've got Bamford back, and I'm sure Palace fans don't particularly like the way that he left, but I don't think he's going to be in the first two choices. So with Costa being temperamental and being able to get himself sent off at just about any given point, I think Chelsea need to have Remy. Although personally, I don't understand why Chelsea don't play him more. I think he's a good goal scorer. I think we played a false nine. I'm a Chelsea fan. We played a false nine over playing Remy, which I thought was quite telling. Obviously, Remy's got aspirations of playing in Euro 2016 as well. So I think if any team really pushed to get Remy to say, I'm unhappy, I want to play more games, maybe there might be a chance there, but Chelsea will have to replace before they could even listen to any single offer for Remy.
Do you think it would help having Cabaye at Palace, that Cabaye might say to him, French teammate, come here. It's worked out for me, but by all accounts, Cabaye is loving playing at Palace, playing every week, and obviously he wants to play at Euro 2016, so he could get in Remy's ear and say, look, it's a good place to come to play and play good football.
Yeah, I think that's the case with the majority of things. Obviously, there's a big French connection at Villa as well, so they'll probably tell him the opposite to stay as well as possible. But yeah, there's always that possibility.
Okay, I'm going to throw a couple more rumours at you. They're again even more fanciful than Remy, but who knows these days? We didn't think we'd get Cabaye a year ago, so let's try them. The first one is Kahuma Babakar, which I'll admit is my favourite to say of all the names. Very good striker, plays for Fiorentina. Very absolute top quality. I'm sure it cost Palace a lot of money, but there's been links that we are very interested in this guy. I mean, could you seriously see him coming to Selhurst?
Well, Sky Sports Italy, who aren't as reputable as Sky Sports in England, have said that you bid £9 to £10 million, which would be huge. And I don't think that it will be enough, but that could be a starting bid. If you are interested in him and you have put that money down, that would just be, let's get negotiations going. Now, they're apparently interested in Graziano Pella of Southampton, and any move would involve him then leaving to go to over there. But I think, personally, this one, I think it's a bit like when you move house. There's so many links involved that one of the links will fall apart. And I think, personally, he had a great Serie B campaign where he almost had a goal-to-game ratio. But I think, personally, he's probably one of the outsiders here. And if other targets don't work out, you could be pushing for a move for him. And Palace will know, or Pardew will know, what targets are and aren't working out. So it could be further along. If Sky Sports Italia are on the money, then you're front runners for him.
Fantastic. It's weird to hear us called front runners for a world-class striker, but these are the times we live in. Last one then, and I lied about Babacar because actually this guy is the best name to say. Simone Zaza, which
Yeah.
sounds more like a sort of 60s actress. Absolutely fantastic name. Plays for Juventus, a very, very good player as well, although I believe not always first choice at Juve. Could we see Zaza and Zaha this season?
He's played 11 times for Juventus this season, which isn't too much. But he is only 24, and his agent and the Juventus chairman have come out and said that they don't see him moving. Now, usually the agent is the first person to sound out a move because they want to show interest. So I don't see this one happening. And plus, on top of that, a lot of other clubs have been linked. Italian clubs, English clubs, Spanish clubs. So I think in this case, Palace would be slightly further down the pecking order than other clubs. So I think this is the biggest outsider of the lot that we've spoken about already.
It's a shame because he's got the best name out of all of them. All right, mate. If you could pick one of the list that we've just said that you think is most likely to come to Palace in January, who do you think it would be?
Charlie Austin. I think personally it makes the most sense, and usually you shouldn't have to look too far. You can see that Charlie Austin is a proven English goal scorer, good price, going out of contract, and obviously there was some feisty words between Alan Pardew to Neil Warnock, who said that he didn't have a very successful time at Palace and he should stop talking about their own transfers. And he's right, but that didn't make any sense either. But that's a story for a different time.
Another day.
Yeah, I think Charlie Austin.
Good stuff. I know Pardew is also keen on building a British-themed team at Palace, which he's doing already. So there you go. Christian, thank you very much for joining me, mate. Really appreciate that.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll talk to you again maybe later on in the window when things are hotting up, I'm sure.
Yeah, great.
Good man. So make sure you check out Footie Writer on Twitter for all the latest transfer news. Well worth checking out, especially during the transfer window. And subscribe to PalaceFanTV for more videos. We've got preview and review videos. Loads of things happening on the channel. Comment below, out of that list, who do you want the most? Do you want Charlie Austin or do you want one of the other ones at Palace? And follow us on Instagram and Snapchat, where I'm doing snaps from every game this season. So that's it. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.